The Five was talking about an individual named Don Morgan, who was interviewed this week by NBC News. Now, he's a 44-year-old American citizen who converted to Islam back in 2008. Earlier this year, he was interested in joining up with ISIS and helping them to carry out their mission over in Syria. He was not accepted, unfortunately. They didn't want him to be a part of it. But Eric Bolling of The Five has a very interesting view on what this represents in terms of how we approach ISIS, how we deal with them in the future, and the mistakes that Obama has made.
They don't want to call it a terror cell, but three jihadis come from the same town in Minnesota. Two of them went to high school together. We have Major Nidal Hassan. You have the Tsarnaev brothers. They're coming from here. They're coming from within, and they're killing us. I think he should be charged with treason. Better yet, send him to Gitmo and waterboard the hell out of him until he starts talking about what he knows. Waterboard the rest. We had a way of dealing with terrorists for a while. We decided that wasn't going to be nice enough to terrorists, so we stopped doing it, and look what happened. It's starting to sprout up again. We have dead Americans. We have beheaded Americans.
That is not why we stopped waterboarding them, but that's an interesting interpretation.
And that's not why we have dead Americans and beheaded Americans.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Islamic State got together and they're like, all right, after the beheadings that we do, what should we consider? Wait, what are they doing down in Guantanamo? What's the latest tactics, right? Look, these guys are willing to die ad nauseum, right? They're not worried about getting captured and what kind of waterboarding we might or what might not do in Guantanamo. In fact, they use Guantanamo for propaganda purposes to this day. In fact, when they beheaded the two American journalists, they dressed them up in orange jumpsuits so they looked like detainees at Guantanamo, saying this is strike back for Guantanamo for the torture that you already did. It's not like this al-Baghdadi, the leader of the Islamic State, is going to be like, ooh, what if they waterboard me in Guantanamo? It is absurd. And the Tsarnaev brothers, nobody had even heard of Islamic State when the Tsarnaev brothers did something that had nothing to do with the Islamic State.
And if they waterboard this American, they're going to find he doesn't know anything.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, you can tell by looking at the guy. You're not going to get any secrets out of him.
John said the whole story was they rejected him.
Yeah.
He couldn't get into the Islamic State. He went down to try to get into Syria and couldn't figure out how to get into Syria. What the hell are you going to find out from the guy?
It's actually kind of hard to get into Syria.
But it doesn't matter how many times we repeat things to guys like Eric Bolling. Like, it doesn't work, right? Yeah. We already know it doesn't work. That's not, first of all, here's one way you might find anything. Ask him. Right? That's step one. Interrogate him professionally. But guys like this continue to go on TV and pretend that there is this cause and effect. I mean, Wes will know better, but let's take...
Why? I haven't tortured anybody.
So you say.
Whatever you say.
What happens at a black site stays at a black site.
No, but I mean as knowing more about military history. But I'll just go to World War II, and the forgotten part of World War II, since we focus so much on the work that we did, which was fantastic in World War II, was the giant other war that happened on the Eastern Front between Germany and the Soviet Union. Here's what they didn't do. Treat each other's prisoners well. Here's what they did. Mass shootings on both sides. It didn't stop either side from doing it. That's not how things work. Germany didn't continue to execute Soviet prisoners they caught because they thought the Soviets were executing the German prisoners. It's just how they went about business.
It's just
being tough,
they did.
right? It's just war, and as we all know, ISIS, these guys are dangerous, and they have no moral code or not a moral code that we can relate to in any way. Their moral code is very different, and we find universally reprehensible. Yeah. And simply being tough with the ones tougher and torturing the ones we catch is in absolutely no way going to stop them, but it will make, once again, everybody on the planet hate us.
But torturing, not just torturing the ones we catch, torturing the ones who couldn't get in.
Right, exactly.
that still live here.
Yeah.
Right. So, look, that leads to one of my favorite stories of all time, which is when we caught Nazis, we brought them to Alabama in the middle of the war. Now, we did not torture them. We did not shoot them on sight, right? We didn't dig shallow graves, etc. We actually gave them steak dinners and played ping pong with them. You know why? Because we like the Nazis? No. But because we wanted their information. And you know what happened? It worked. They would relax and they would think, well, this is my friend Bob that I'm playing ping pong with in the middle of Alabama. Look, I'm in sweet home Alabama, right? And they'd be like, all right, here's our code. This is how you break our code. And we got absolutely critical information that helped us defeat the Nazis because we were smart. We didn't want to give them steak dinners. They're frickin' Nazis, right? But it worked. It worked. Now, if you do that, the Bill O'Reillys and the Bollings will come on air and go nuts. When we released innocent Uyghurs from Guantanamo that had done nothing against us, Fox News found a picture of them swimming in an island that we had banished them to. They're like, now they're swimming. Now they're swimming. Right? These idiots would have cost us critical information if they were around in World War II. Right? Now, finally, on this Bolling, idea that, well, it must be cause and effect. We stopped torturing, and now we've got Islamic State running roughshod throughout the Middle East, right? Now, to be fair to them, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, and afterwards, Islamic State runs roughshod, right? And so I don't know if it was, Russell Wilson. I don't know if it was that thug, that's Richard Sherman.
Oh, Richard Sherman, right? Yeah. The dangerous thug, Richard Sherman.
Oh,
right.
You know what it was? When the Seahawks and Marshawn Lynch specifically went into beast mode, Islamic State went into beast mode. If we would just stop the Seahawks from winning the Super Bowl, we could go back to winning this war.